Board Game Geek TV at Essen Spiel 2013. I'm here with Scott D'Estino of WizKid Games.
Hello.
Or excuse me, just WizKids.
WizKid Games.
WizKid Games. And you've got quite the spectacular showing in front of us.
Thank you. This is our new game, The Hobbit, an unexpected journey to the Lonely Mountain strategy game. A little bit of a mouthful there, but this is
Is this your last name for me,
Yes.
apparently, today?
This is a game that follows the story of Bilbo Baggins with the company of dwarves, and of course going along with Gandalf, traveling through Middle-earth and going to the Lonely Mountain.
Now, a question for those who are diehard fans of the book. Now, is this up through the course of the first movie, which of course is nowhere through the book?
Yes, this is primarily based off of the first movie, but there's elements and of parts of the story. And,
Okay. So we don't actually get to Smaug the dragon in this.
Not in this particular game.
I feel like
No.
there might be a yet in there.
Oh, everything's open. You are one player will play as Bilbo Baggins, and there's up to 3 other players who will play as the Goblin King, Gollum, or Azog. It's always the second player will play Goblin King, third player will play Gollum, fourth player will play Azog. They're all trying to stop Bilbo from going to the Lonely Mountain. But they each have their own victory condition because they're working for themselves ultimately, as bad guys do. And Bilbo needs to advance through these different regions. There's 8 different regions on the board here, and eventually make the way over to the Lonely Mountain and end a turn there. Sounds pretty simple, right? However, Bilbo first has to go into the location here, the Goblin Caves, and find the One Ring, which will happen during the course of the game. When he makes it to this spot, we'll draw one of these tokens here randomly, and it's a 50-50 chance if you draw either a wrong turn or the One Ring and a way out in order to advance to the next region. Meanwhile, the enemy players are going to be filling up the board with goblins and orcs and wargs to try to impede his movement across the board. Bilbo needs to reach here to win. There is shared victory conditions with the 3 enemy players if Bilbo gets knocked out, or if 3 of his starting dwarves, which are secret at the beginning of the game, you draw 3 of these cards, which all correspond to the 6 starting dwarves. 3 of them you'll be able to use as special abilities during the game, but the other 3 that you have are set aside, and these are called the chosen dwarves. If those are knocked out, then the Bilbo player loses and everybody else wins. The interesting thing is, as you play these cards, you're giving the other players information of which
ones are your
isn't.
must-keeps.
Yes. So.
And is Bilbo only knocked out if all 3 of those chosen ones?
Just
he
yes,
could sacrifice
those 3.
some of them.
Yes,
perhaps.
the ones that are in your hand are ones that you can let go. Not that you want to let go of any of them. But there are individual win conditions for each of the enemy players. Gollum is hunting Bilbo, as he should.
Yeah.
If the Gollum player is the one to knock out Bilbo, then the Gollum player will win instead of the shared victory. Azog is hunting the dwarves. If Azog and the Azog player and his token characters knocks out 6 dwarf tokens, he'll win the game. Even if he knocks out these 3, it's the last one, instead of the shared victory, he'll win the game. The Goblin King is trying to spread his influence across the land. If he controls locations in each of the first 7 regions, just not the last one, and has goblins all across Middle-earth, then he will win the game. So they're each vying against each other and can actually get in each other's way during the course of the game. It's very thematic gameplay and very high strategy. I'll go through very basically how the game is played. There are 5 phases in each turn, and that's represented by these standard action cards that each player will get. They'll get these 6 cards. I'll explain this one in a second. The 5 phases are advance, where you get to move on the board. Reinforcements, where you get to bring in tokens from outside the game onto the board. Combat, where you're actually fighting and you'll roll dice for combat. Each token has a little number, so you have to roll that number or higher. Regroup lets you get power tokens. Power tokens will let you re-roll in combat or make someone else re-roll if they hit you. Or there's also cards that you can get. If you play the rest action, you'll be able to get one of these special action cards. That'll give you a special ability during the game. Some of them actually have a cost that you have to spend power tokens to get those as well. Now, here's the trick. There's 5 phases in the turn. You can only act in 2 of them. So at the beginning of each turn, you need to choose which phases you're going to act in and place them face down in front of you. And each player is going to place them face down and commit to the phases that they're going to act in.
And then we'll all reveal at the same time.
Exactly. So you'll go around and say, well, who played an advance card? And everybody who did would flip it up. And the order is always in the same order. When you resolve the phases, it always goes Bilbo, then Goblin King, then Gollum, then Azar. So the Bilbo player has an advantage of always going first, and seeing what everybody else is doing if they're going to play in that phase. And that'll influence how they want to move their tokens, because they can block the enemy players from being able to move into locations. Each spot can only have a maximum of 4 tokens in it, with the exception of the Goblin Caves and Lonely Mountain, which can have more. So it's very dangerous to go there, but Bilbo has to go to each one.
And can the players activate either of those 2 actions in the order that they choose, or do they have a specific
It always goes in the same order: advance, then reinforcement, then combat. And you go through each one of those, and then whoever activates in those phases will go in the same turn order.
Oh, and I'm seeing, yes, you got a little zigzag.
Yes, a little chart here that shows the turn order, and it's on players' cards.
Yes, I just realized I had a player aid in front of me.
And each player has a little player aid that tells them the turn order and the turn sequence. It also will tell you each character has special abilities as well. The Bilbo player has a special ability called Hobbit's Luck, where he'll be able to avoid attacks, because Bilbo will get knocked out with 1 wound in combat. He's not a very good fighter. So you need to protect Bilbo, but he will be able to avoid getting hit by using the Hobbit's Luck. He also has Gandalf. Gandalf, very powerful wizard following along aside him. Gandalf can get involved in combat, and if Gandalf gets involved in combat, he will shoot first and score an automatic hit, which will be very helpful. But each time you use these abilities, you have to roll, and Bilbo might take an additional click on his dial. If he clicks all the way down, he'd get knocked out. Gandalf, if he rolls, doesn't make his roll, will get moved backwards on the board, so you have to spend more movement to keep him up with the rest of the group. You don't want to delay a wizard, they hate that. Gollum has a special ability where he'll be able to manipulate the order of the stack in combat. When combat happens,
Here, we'll show that.
You would take the tokens and lay them out on the board from the top of the stack to the bottom of the stack, and then they'd roll in order. But if
So those who arrived first
will attack first. So if the Gollum player had a token in here, Gollum could actually click his dial down. He's only got 5 clicks on his dial, so he can use it sparingly to put his tokens up to the top of the stack so that they'll attack first. And if they roll their number, they're going to knock out one of the enemy's tokens. So they might not be able to attack, or they'll clear that area. And then once combat would be done, you'd restack them and put them back onto the board wherever the location was. The Goblin King has an ability that when he brings in tokens from outside the board, he can click down and bring in an additional token. So he can produce more goblins.
Which goes along with his end goal of spreading goblins out across the board.
Absolutely. Azog has a special ability. Azog, for those of you who like to play the character that's all about combat, that's the Azog character. You just want to run around and knock things out in this game with Azog. And he can actually move outside the board and then jump onto the board or start a combat in any location within the region that he's at.
And
he's kind of riding his warg around and hunting down the company of dwarves.
I'll grab the Goblin King and Azog here, just because, of course, we've been talking about them, and they are pretty spectacular
thank you.
miniatures. Now, these come fully colored and everything.
This is as they are out of the box, and one thing I want to point out also, this is a game that we have the characters on switch clicks, so they pop off the dial, and included in the game is alternate dials that are used 100% compatible with the HeroClix PAC or Powers and Ability card game. So you can just pop the figure right back on,
so
and now play them in HeroClix,
right.
and it comes along with the cards as well. So you'll be able to get a little bit of two game systems in one when you buy this, that you can now play this as Gandalf in your HeroClix game.
And here I'll just finish grabbing the characters. So we got Gollum here, a little hard to see, that's him kind of crouched over. You can mostly see his back, but I'll also sort of flip him up, face up, so you can get an idea. And then finally we got Bilbo over here, Sting.
Yes. The game is very high strategy, a lot of player interaction. You really have to anticipate what the other players are doing. We've been having a lot of fun demoing it here at Essen, and I've noticed a very progression of almost every demo where people look at it and go, wow, this looks complicated. But then when they realize the turn actions and how those are done, they'll go, oh, okay, I get it. The actual mechanics of doing each of the phases is pretty straightforward and pretty easy.
I'll tell you, I've pretty much been going through that progression just sitting here listening to you. So.
Then about turn 4 or 5, the strategy hits you. And you go, I can only act in 2 phases, but I want to do 3 things. So you really have to make some hard choices. And I've had games that have come down to the last turn. Like, you're choosing your phases, going either if I chose right, I win. If I chose wrong, I lose. And so it's been a lot of blasts to play, and it's very thematic. Each character has ability cards that are specific to them and very flavorful from the movie and the story.
Right. And obviously, you got the movie rights for this, so these are.
And a lot of strategy, a lot of player interaction, and a lot of trying to guess what the other players are going to do. So we're very excited. This is designed by Eric M. Lang, who also was partnered with Mike Elliott to bring us Couriers and Trains and Stations as well, which we're demoing here. A wonderful game designer to work with, and this is his take on the Hobbit, and we're very proud to have it and have it here at Essen.
Well, Scott, I really appreciate you for bringing these fantastic pieces and fantastic game by, and good luck with the last little bit of the show we got left here.
Thank you. Enjoy.